All right, we're filming. Okay, so Gramps, you are a World War II veteran.
Exactly.
So what ship did you sail on?
Well,
What was the
I
name
was
of the ship?
on a destroyer, and we knew it quite well in regards to how to operate the vessel and what it had. Like it had twin screws and could go very fast, and it had armament, 5-inch guns. It had three turrets of 5-inch guns, which was something. And some of my buddies were in there when the ship went down, and that affected me mentally in a sense.
Right.
But I got over it pretty fair. But it was quite a vessel.
How many men on board?
Very proud. About roughly 350 men.
Wow.
Officers
Including yourself and everything?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you worked mostly below deck?
Yes, mostly below in the what they call the after fire room. The operation of the after fire room, which had 7 men, and we all came out alive when we took the first hit.
Wow.
Okay? Which was something. All I got was a burn on my left ear from the steam going up the ladder, which we really went quite fast. And anyway, I was able to get off the ship, but I was very fortunate.
And what interests me a lot is how the kamikazes, how you saw them. And
Yeah.
I remember once you told me that when you saw a kamikaze one time, they fell into the water.
Yes.
And you captured some.
Yes, we did.
Tell me a little about you. And
well, I'll tell you, they were very leery of the men. When I saw 1 or 2 of them at different instances, they sat on the floor. They would not sit on a regular chair like we do, and they know information. They were officers. But whatever, they came down in the water and we picked them up as a destroyer. We were a small enough vessel that we were able to pick them up, and we brought them over to the carriers. And at the carriers, they would put them in their own confined cell, and like I say, they wouldn't sit on a chair. They'd sit on the floor.
And you think that's because they felt like they had failed, right? Their
well,
mission.
Either that or possibly they were kind of leery of us as the enemy,
Right.
what we would do to them. See?
Now, your ship's job, what was the USS Drexler's job?
The job was to go out to the fighting area with carriers, and of course, when we got to Okinawa, they kept the ship dark, and yet if they had a fire, they were able to fire these 5-inch shells from the 3 mounts that we had, and each mount contained about 17 men, and I knew a lot of them personally, and it was a shock to me when this all happened. But however, it didn't take long. It took a couple of minutes. We were hit with 2 kamikaze planes. The last one was a twin-engine bomber, and I could see the pilot.
His face.
And he was determined to get that vessel to hit the ship.
And he succeeded.
And luckily, he hit back aft. But within a half a minute, the ship was already starting to sink, rise in the front. And when that happened, when it started to rise, I took a powder can, because I left my preserver down in that after fire room.
And there was not enough time to go down and get it.
No way. As a matter of fact, one fella that was a gambler, his name was Ketchum. He came from the Carolinas. He got the bright idea. He came out of the fire room, and before the other plane was coming along, he decided to go back to his locker, back aft, and
Get his winnings, but I guess he didn't.
Well, he might have had as much as $10,000.
But didn't get to enjoy it.
Nope, because he disappeared after that. Because within a half a minute, here comes another twin-engine bomber trying to hit our ship. And luckily for me, it was back aft. Had it have been forward more, I might not have been here.
And I remember you told me that you saw the engine roll across the deck. That must have been a very
that was
traumatic experience to see that.
That was a big ball of metal that was rolling on the deck. But luckily, when the ship actually started to sink from the back part down, that's when that engine rolled the other way. Because I would have been hit by that engine and I might not have been here today.
Wow.
Really, as bad as that.
So, I'm interested in when the ship is down,
Yes.
You're in the water.
I'm in the water and I swam to a raft. And sure enough, a lot of debris around. And we had, from the plane, evidently, some of the gasoline went afire on us on the surface of the ocean. But at that point, from the ship, we got a lot of black oil floating, and the about 5 or 6 men that were hurt pretty bad were inside the raft, and the raft wasn't exactly on the surface. It had sunk a little bit,
Right.
but nothing much. But how's about 30 men were holding on to that raft in the water, and I was one of them.
And then some of the men must have been pretty upset about.
Oh yeah, everybody, a lot of guys. As a matter of fact, one guy, we had to shut him up. He said, "You got to be careful of the sharks," and he was shouting. And
you were about to drown him, right?
Yes, we were full of oil. But one thing I had the presence to do, I kept the hunting knife on my belt. And one of the cooks that I knew said to me, "Sal, please, my jacket is full of oil. I can't stay up in the water." So I said, "Turn around," and I cut the jacket off him.
And he was the cook.
Yeah.
And you knew him from the ship.
From the ship. But after we were rescued, I never saw the man again. Nice fella from one of the Carolinas.
Nice.
Really.
So how long were you in the water before you were rescued?
We were in the water roughly a good 2 hours.
2 hours?
Yes, with a lot of debris around us. And a fire that we had to pedal. We used everything. Pieces of a box or whatever, and we tried to pedal, get away from the fire. And luckily we did. See? And like I say, within 2 hours, we were picked up by our own ships.
Wow.
See?
And were you afraid when you were in the water that you might have been picked up by the enemy?
Well, not really. Never gave that a thought.
Their mission was just to get the ship to sink.
Yes.
And then leave you for death, basically.
And truthfully, if there were times that I heard where from the plane they would come down and try to shoot the men in the water.
So you were afraid of that happening, but
we were afraid of
luckily that didn't happen.
Luckily it didn't.
So you're rescued now, and how long did it take for them to decide? Did they have to decide to send you back home, or did you?
Oh yeah, well,
was your service at that point over and time to go home, or?
Well, being as we lost the ship, any of the survivors, they would send them back to Hawaii, and then maybe home. And in my case, after the hospital ship took care of us, I was put. Well, let's see, how did we get to Hawaii? It wasn't a ship; it was a plane. A plane, see, because they were trying to secure Okinawa.
Right, and you were right off the coast of Okinawa, Japan, when this happened.
Oh yeah, sure,
right.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And that was, in what year did the USS Drexler go down?
In 1945, and it was, it was May 28th at 7 o'clock in the morning.
So it's almost, the anniversary's almost coming up.
Oh, sure.
The end of May.
sure, of course. But truthfully, I gotta say that once I got back to the United States, I sort of calmed down, and I was able to contact my family, and I wound up in uh, the shipyard and repair shop in Brooklyn, right off Flushing Avenue in Brooklyn. And I stayed there a while, worked for the Navy before they released you.
Right.
Then finally, when they did, I went home, and that was it.
And then when you were working in the shipyard, was that when you got married to Grandma, or did you get married after the your service was
No.
done?
After the service,
After service.
we were sweethearts before, but we decided we wouldn't get married, and I'm lucky I made it. I feel very fortunate.
Well, thank you for making it, because I wouldn't be here, would I?
How true? How true?
I wouldn't get to enjoy you for 22 years.
Sure. But I got over it kind of fast, only because you realized that mainly I was a machinist. I was trained as a machinist, and I worked in the Navy Yard for 3 full years, and I worked on a battleship, Iowa, on some of the parts that had to be machined.
Right.
And after that, of course, like I say, I was, got out, and then I was able to get a job, and I got a position in the fire department. Oh, I went to work for sanitation, and I didn't like sanitation, the department of sanitation. So with that, the winters were bad because we would work in a garage that was quite cold, doors on both sides. With the winter, if it's bad days, you knew it. You had to work there.
Right.
They wouldn't let you just hang around or go in a warm room. So with that, after a year of that, I said, that's enough. I went into the fire department. They took me in. I took a test, and they took me in, and I got a position of auto machinist. And I did a lot of machine work for truck engines or pumps for the pumpers, the fire pumps. We would repair them, and it'd keep the truck going the way we did the repair.
So what exactly was it like when you got home? Was there a lot of commotion, celebration when the war ended?
Well,
was it tough
to
be home during that time, or was it
no, you sort of you took it all in. You forgot about your ship going down and your shipmates, that some of them I knew quite well.
Right.
See?
It was almost, you were so happy to be alive that it was
absolutely
a celebration.
Absolutely.
And I just to end this interview, I just wanted to ask you as a personal question. To you, what does it mean to be brave? Especially when it comes to war.
Well, I'll tell you. You truthfully, well, I think that was instilled in me. I was one of 4 boys. From childhood up, I realized that when you have a situation, you look at it and you work at it. And it just so happened that it fell, in other words, the series of events fell into a good position for Sal Chiaffitelli. See? And I was able to get along. So once I got out of the Navy, I realized I had to get a decent job and try to have a family. And I had my son and my daughter, and they were the greatest. I gotta say it. A
lot of big families popping up after World War II, right? The baby boomer era.
Oh yeah, of course. True. sure.
So I just want you to show everyone really quick your medals that you have with you there, and if you could just point out why and
of course
what they're for.
Well, here we have
turn them around a little.
Some medals, some medals here, and of course there's the Purple Heart,
which is right there.
Yeah, right.
And then what else?
Then what other medals do we have? You point them out, and I'll
this
talk.
one says Victory.
Victory. Well.
So that's for winning World War II.
I guess that would be it. And down at the bottom is what?
You have
that's
your American Campaign Medal.
Yeah, well, that I don't know. That because I was in the Navy or what? But there's some vessels on there, isn't there?
Yes,
and this one here.
Asia Pacific.
Yeah, well, that's because right. See, because you got to realize when we first went out to the Pacific, we crossed the equator, and when you do, why there's they fill some socks with sand, and they try to hit you, with it.
Kind of like an initiation.
Yeah, that kind of a deal.
Like a hazing.
Yes,
of some sort.
Of course. And we weren't in a fighting zone, or they wouldn't do it. See,
right.
It was before Pearl Harbor. Or
and this picture right here, this is one of my favorite pictures of you. You getting, being given your medals.
Right.
By who is that giving you your medals?
That's King. The Senator King.
Senator King.
Yes, which is he's still here today.
Right.
A little older, and so am I.
Okay.
Yeah.
You could rest your arms if you want. That looks kind of heavy.
Sure. I'll put it down.
Okay, Grandpa. So it's really cool to be able to hear this from you again many times and be able to tape this and have people listen.
Oh, that's great.
So, thank you for educating us with your experience.
Sure.
I love you.